Tomorrow morning. There won't be any slides. There he is.
All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome back. Hello? What happened there? How'd you guys think about that lunch? What'd you think? Fantastic. Oh my God. It's just such great food here. So having a wonderful time. You guys having a wonderful day already so far? Look at this panel. ANTN Sage Wisdom. Did you know that? You were sages? Beautiful. Beautiful. So we're going to just go ahead and open up now with our panel of Sage ANTN Wisdom. So you want to go ahead and just introduce yourselves?
I'm Allie Benjamin.
I'm Charles Geddes.
Carol Lawson.
And George Mentz.
Okay, let me be more clear. Sorry, no, my bad. Would you care to introduce yourself and tell us where you're from and what you do?
Well, I'm Allie Benjamin, Reverend Allie Benjamin.
Thank you.
And currently I'm serving the ANTN Board as Vice President. And that's been a really nice role for me. Let's see. I currently serve the Satya Center in Ogden, Utah. It's the Center for Conscious Living that my husband, Michael, and I founded 12 years ago, I think, and serve the Bear Valley Center for Spiritual Enrichment in Big Bear Lake, California. We move around a lot. We live in our camper van, Om Shanti home, and so we're from everywhere. And that's a little bit about me.
Thank you.
I'm Charles from Clancy, Montana. and I've been in ministry for 50 years and just turned 80 and have created a new nonprofit called Mind Your Own Becoming, which is about standing for all lives that have not mattered and creating dialogue and ways and means in which we can come together so that we have honest and prayerfully very uncomfortable discussions. And then I've also been a part of, which I'm really thrilled to realize that, because 45 years ago when we began what is now called the Big Sky Retreat, at that point it was called the Grand Teton Meditation Retreat, but that 45 years later, I'm still with that retreat on the board of directors, and it is the oldest ongoing metaphysical retreat in the world.
Yay!
So,
So I am Reverend Carol Lawson. I retired in the end of January this last year from 29 years as the founding minister and spiritual director of the Center for Conscious Living in Moorestown, New Jersey. I have been on the ANTN board. I think we counted it once, I'm not sure, but somewhere between 12 and 15 years, various times. And I am currently in the middle of a move. So I am moving from New Jersey to Houston, Texas, where my 2 children and grandchildren and now in-laws have all gathered to wait for me to go take care of somebody else, I guess. I'm not sure. But
It's an adventure.
So I speak from having been in church for a long time and also absolutely smack dab in the middle of, oh, I wonder what's next.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is George Mintz. I'm originally from New Orleans, and I live in Colorado Springs right now for the last 13 years, raising 3 beautiful young ladies, and I have a beautiful wife as well. I am an international lawyer and trained as an investment banker for Wall Street firms years ago, and I got acquainted with New Thought in the mid-'90s, and I've been a friend of Angie since 2006. I love New Thought and the philosophy that revolves around it. Been a student of it for a long time. I've written about 50 books and audiobooks in relation to New Thought and mental science over the last 20 years. And I actually still am an active teacher in the area of wealth management. I teach wealth management for Texas A&M Law School, which is top-ranked law school in the United States. I'm one of the first professors in the United States to be allowed to teach wealth management as a graduate law class, postdoctorate. So that's been my focus, wealth management in relation to New Thought and how to make the best of your life, for your best of your health, happiness and success and prosperity for you and yourself and your family and your community. That's been my focus really for the last 20 years. But I appreciate, I'm a member of ANTN now, and I'm just glad to be here with you guys. It's always a lot of love and it's good vibration.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right, so you guys ready for some questions?
Everybody has a slip. They can write their questions out.
Okay, we're still taking questions. Did you guys turn your slips in? Perfect. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Anybody need a slip? Anybody need panties or bras?
Woohoo! All right. We'll go ahead then with the first question. This isn't directed with anyone, so to anyone in particular. So if any of you have a thought about this, please feel free to jump in. So the question is, I think the question is, what new opportunities are there for New Thought leaders now? And a second part is, what regrets are there for New Thought leaders right now? So what opportunities do we have, and what regrets do we have, if any?
Well, I can talk about the opportunities. I haven't a clue. And after I kind of looked my way through what it means to retire and leave something in the kind of loss of identity after you've been something for 29 years or before that, I find that what it leaves me with after I've sorted out all that is a curiosity. And with that curiosity, I can stay present and see. I truly do not know. And I feel like that's happening to many of us as we're talking about being in the middle of this evolutionary shift. How can you know what's new when you haven't been there yet? So that's kind of where I am about it. And I really don't think I have regrets. There's just such gratitude for all the miracles along the way.
Thank you, Reverend Dr. Carol.
I will share briefly that 50 years ago, it wasn't about anything other than the structure of churches and opportunities to serve staff-wise or leadership-wise in that. That is now not the case because everything has changed out of the reality of the evolution of consciousness itself. So everything that's occurring now for me is, what do I want to be with this? And I can guarantee you I'm not retired, so do not use that word with me. But I am refired to be what I feel is the opportunity present for all of us to be in more creative mode of ministries, and that they no longer need to be structured and in the foundations of which they were built before. And in fact, for the most part, that's not going to work. And but that what will work is that you have the courage to examine and take a look at where needs are and where communities are so needing this teaching, and bring it about in new ways, in ways that, again, step back from the traditional manner in which we've been taught, this is how you do it. And so far as regrets, well, you know, if you don't have some moments of observance of I could have done that better, you know, then something's wrong, whether I label them as regrets or not. But I will always want to be the cosmic viewer of my life and say, what have I gained from all of this? And what can I put into new practice that I'm better than ever? You know, I'm going to share tomorrow 2 choices in life, better or bitter. I want to look in the mirror and see better.
Thank you so much, Reverend Charles.
Well, for me, there's been a lot of change for all of us, obviously, going through the pandemic, the lockdown, the closing of the doors of many of our churches and centers. We, Michael and I, experienced the closing of the doors of the Satya Center in Ogden, Utah, and also the Bear Valley Center in Big Bear Lake, California. And there was a sense of loss of identity without being that pulpit minister, that leader, that community builder, that chief fundraiser, all of the things that, the roles that I played as a senior minister, not having that in quite the same way. It took some time, it took some adjustment. And luckily for us, the universe conspired to take us on a joyride, Michael and I. We termed the phrase, or coined the phrase, life on a joyride, and hashtag life on a joyride, and off we went in our camper van that we named Om Shanti Home. And we toured around the country during the last year. And so we've been living in Om Shanti Home for a year, over a year and a half now. And it really helped to sort of unsettle, unshake us. It shook us loose, I should say, from who we were into what we might become. And we're still figuring that out. What I know for myself, I have become very clear on the fact that I'm not interested in having a brick and mortar center. I'm not interested in building community as it revolves around a church. I'm more interested in what I'm really passionate about, which is my art, which is helping women to gain empowerment. And so that's my focus. I have a new hashtag, Her Wings Appeared. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm coaching, I'm teaching. We have an online version of the Satya Center. So it's all morphing and changing, and it's more wonderful than I could have imagined. All the things that Melissa and Z said, all those wonderful affirmations. Oh my God, life.
Thank you.
In my case, everybody, I have a professional wife who's a physician, and I have 3 little girls. And during specifically in the pandemic over the last 2 years, we're looking again for a better spiritual home. And I have asked a lot of adults and professionals around me that I knew that aren't going to church services right now, what they're looking for. And I think a lot of people are in that what's in it for me kind of mentality. Like, if I show up, what are you going to give me some solace and a haven away from all this insanity out here? Are you going to provide me with peace and joy and a spiritual home? So all of that's going on. Are you going to do something for my children to teach them, something to help them be better people during their lives? So that's kind of where I am. Everybody's in different shoes, and sometimes I try and put myself. I have a friend of mine who's a physician who's older, who has a disabled child, and he says he wants to go somewhere where he can get some relief. If he has to take care of a disabled child all week, he wants an hour of peace. So here we are in this new hybrid world of education and spirituality. And I've been teaching for over 20 years online. I've taught over 250 courses in business and law and ethics. And I was explaining to some people in the room earlier, I launched a little course on one of these free things the other day, and there's 400 students in there. So, how the metaphysics works, if you provide something out there, the ripple effect can be pretty big around the world. There's classes on these massive online open courses like Coursera and Udacity and edX and 2U. There's courses with 100,000 students a session 3 times a year in there. But those are for bigger universities if you're offering a practical course. But what I'm saying is the nature is everything. And there's a gentleman in here that does videos and streaming, and all of that is just growing and growing. If you launch up things on, I've read articles in the Unity magazine about guys that started, launched up some YouTube videos, and a year later they've got millions and millions of followers and visitors and all that, and they're providing valuable spiritual consultation. So it's a very expansive world. Even though I'm in my mid-50s, I've seen all of this kind of rolling in since the mid-90s with the internet bubble and everything else, and the transformation that we've had over the last 20, 25 years. So that's kind of where we are.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. I'm sorry. This isn't, again, this is for whoever has an answer to this question. What is the meaning of your life?
I'll go. Well, it's always changing, in my mind anyway, but currently the meaning of life is to be the presence of love and light. And so knowing that about me, that's my role, but it's not easy. It's not easy to show up as always loving and always full of light and joy. But that's, I believe, the core reason that we're here to share God's love and God's light. And we do that in our own particular way, our own particular flavor. And yeah.
Thank you, Evanelli.
I can echo that purely. And to be in a constancy of openness and willingness to change and willingness to see things from a new place, and how vital that is, because I've never arrived and I never will. And that sounds like so defeating, doesn't it? It's like, really? But really, all I know is this, that I do my best to practice the presence. And that's what I define being a practitioner as, practicing the presence, that presence of pure originating cause, which is love. And love brought me here. Love has carried me through some of the darkest nights that I thought I would never survive. And love moves me on. And I am so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Charles.
I got to interview Charles on the ANTN speaker series. It's the first time I met him. It's lovely speaking after you. I see why they kept you on that board for so long. It's lovely. In my installation and ordination ceremonies, there was, the theme was reflecting the light. And that story from Robert Fulghum about, everything I learned in kindergarten or something, about reflecting a light, taking a mirror and just reflecting light in some of the dark places. But I think that the consistent meaning for me has been to live as love. And I'm aware as I say it, many things come through mind about times where it might not have looked quite like that. But that's the endeavor, and that's when I can take a breath and be present. I go along with Charles as well in practicing the presence. I was always a practitioner before a minister in terms of everything that we did. I would say, adding about church, I think one of the things we did was pray beforehand. We prayed and after, before services, before any meeting, before everything. And just settling into that place of presence. And then from that, things unfold.
Thank you, Reverend Carroll.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people wiser and smarter than me say that the two most important things are the relationship you have with your higher power and the relationship you have with yourself. So those two things are addressed in I joke about I don't joke about it, but I talk about the Gospel of Luke, when the scribe is having a back and forth with the Christ, and the scribe explains the two laws about loving God with all your heart, all your mind, and your soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. And I think one of the primary challenges for most people these days is cultivating that esoteric self-respect and love that we all truly want. And when we do have that, we're able to treat others so much better. And I remember when Marianne Morrissey was here many years ago in Scottsdale at the ANTN meeting, she was talking about the Thoreau and the higher order of living, and that higher consciousness. And I think it's achieved a lot through that, by having that peace and that clarity and that catharsis of self-respect and a unity with your higher power.
Thank you. Sage wisdom. All right, again, this is for anyone who'd like to answer. Would you like to have some of your thoughts and guidelines about taking over or inheriting an existing center? What thoughts do you have about how to do that? Ooh, that's getting some comments out there.
Comments from the back row are, don't do it. They weren't mine.
I'll go. I don't have a lot of experience, but I've had enough. I've had enough. I think it's really important as a minister, as a leader, going into a new work, to really know what is yours, to really know your track, to get really clear with yourself what your skills are and what your weaker areas are. And so when establishing yourself, you're very firm and clear about what you're willing to take on and what you would prefer the board or teams to take on. Reverend Jean Sweet was my first practitioner teacher, and she used to say to me, expectations clearly stated are clearly met. And so I feel that a lot of us get in trouble when we're not clear enough with our intentions. Did I say expectations? I meant intentions, clearly stated are clearly met. So it's about owning your own lane, staying where you are really dynamic and powerful, and allowing others to step up to do those things that you're not able to do or you're not good at doing. And that's my sage wisdom.
Thank you.
I'm kind of in agreement with Martha.
Oh, it wasn't Martha. She was just
Yeah,
echoing.
don't do it. But no, in all honesty, be aware of what you are stepping into and be as fully cognizant that you've done your research and homework on the history that's involved in that center. And if there's healing work to do everything to invoke all the wonderful things that exist today, to bring boards and a community together to do the healing, to do as much healing work as can be before you step in to that position. And the other thing, I've only served one large church as a co-director. And in all honesty, that was the most challenging of any that I ever did. That was not easy. But it birthed the reality of what I created in Fort Lauderdale that I realized was what I came to do, Bridges Spiritual Centers, and a completely different, independent. I didn't do Sunday service for several years, and but it's still going with new leadership. But that one thing that so many of the centers that ministers serve are smaller in number. And what Ali was referencing is so true. Be very clear that you don't wind up taking on what is not yours to take on, and particularly in regards to administrative work, because it can ultimately drain you, take from your primary purpose as a spiritual leader, which is to touch hearts, to move minds, to open minds, and to serve community in a way that can evolve and grow that center. If you are so immersed in the administrative reality of it, and you're not willing to let go, because, oh, you know, I've learned, I've got it down, I know how to do it, it takes too much time to train anyone else, will you please get over that? Because, you know, it's BS. It's just not true. That's your ego. And when you step back to what you want to be as a minister and teacher, that really is your priority. So draw people, and you will, once you declare it, that there are people to serve this center and serve it well. This is mine to be, not mine to do.
Thank you, Charles.
I have absolutely no experience in that. As the founding minister of this Center for Conscious Living that started with a group in my back room at home in a state where when I said I was religious science or science of mind, people asked me, was that, you know, Scientology or I don't know what else it was, but Christian Science. That were the only two options there in southern New Jersey when I moved there. So I didn't have a lot of people to talk to or to share with. So we started from that. And then when people said, can we meet on Sunday, we moved into that. And I have always been there. So I suspect that it's very difficult. I can see stepping away, but not moving yet. It's taken me all year to actually move. So I haven't quite got to Texas yet, although I do have a house there and half my stuff is there now. But the but it's difficult coming in when there is something that's already set. And I think people that have had more experience in that, I would go along with the tenor and the feeling that you're saying to be careful and to stay in your lane and do bring what your strength is, because we're all different and we're all unique, and it's that consciousness that shows.
Thank you, Reverend Carol. You have nothing to say on passing, hard pass? All right. Okay. What inspires you about the evolution of your ministry right now?
So much. I'm on fire about my ministry. I'm super excited for what's to come. The marriage, the sacred union of my ministry, leaning solely on spiritual principle and using my art to bring my message of truth and light and joy and love and passion and beauty to the world through the various different social media platforms, traveling around the country, doing workshops, play shops. I do a lot of art and soul play shops that combine meditation and healing and painting and making mala beads and all kinds of fun things like that. I'm so excited I've started a Facebook group for women. Sorry, guys. It's called hashtag Her Wings Appeared. And it's only been going for a month or so. And it's a forum for women to come and share. And I post things daily that are my art, my women. I paint women, and they're really curvy and luscious and beautiful. And recently, this year, I've been painting them for years and years, I don't know, 20 plus years. And this year, just recently, they developed wings, and that symbolizes freedom. And so to have this group, to have a forum, I have people coming into my life that want to be a part of this group, that want to actually bring it more real into towns, into wherever they live. So it's going to be in-person women's groups, which I've been leading a goddess circle for 20-something years. So everything seems to be coming together for me, and to actually let go of the brick and mortar and the building of a community and creating that has really allowed me to take off and do the things that I really feel inspired to do. I don't know if that answered the question, but I think maybe.
It sounds like you've answered it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I also I'd love to mention that I also serve on the Big Sky Retreat with Charles on the board of directors. And so it's quite lovely to be sitting here with him. And my ministry is about serving too. So serving the Big Sky Retreat to help create experiences for people outside of their everyday life and in their everyday life to get in touch with what's possible. And at the Big Sky Retreat, that's what we do. We create experiences, and it's deep and it's juicy, and Charles is amazing.
Thank you, Reverend Allie.
Thank you, Allie. Oh my God. And I love this woman, and she is an artist, and she's allowing the artist to come through her. And so those wings that she has seen appearing in her artistry, ooh, whoa, they're there. 2 years ago, when I decided to move from Florida, where I had a lot of friends and a sense of security, and I knew that I was complete. And I sat on the mountainside in Big Sky at the retreat in 2019 and knew, my angel said, Charles, because I was like all the reasons. Oh my God, do you realize, hey, up there, do you realize how old I am? Do you realize that I don't have savings? Do you realize that I've got minimum income? And oh my God, got a slap in the face from my angels. They said, get over it. And that the universe has your back, and angels are going before you and preparing the way. So my mantra from that point on was, yes, I can. Yes, I can. And I knew no one in Montana after all those years, other than one person in Bozeman. But between that point and where I am now in Clancy, Montana, I have a body of friends that I never knew that was created through Zoom over the past 2 years because they called upon me to be visioning for their center. And I moved all those miles with that mantra, yes, I can. And I wound up, I've always imagined myself maybe with a cabin, and it's a basement apartment, but it's a cabin. It's a holy, sacred space. It's small, but it's spacious, and there's a difference. It's spacious because of all the love that's there. And I just want to remind you that say yes to your dreams and never give up. Step back. Boy, have I had to step back a lot and say, okay, I need to see this in a new light. I need to adjust. I need to align. But I've never not pursued the dream in my heart. And COVID and 2020 revealed what I was supposed to be doing. And my angels did tell me that. It's like, will you please stop asking? You'll know when it's time. And I knew. And that's how it works. And so it is vital that you stay passionate about life and about what you want to be. It's not what I'm so tired of. I spent most of my ministry doing. And when I wound up in Clancy, Montana for the first time in my life, oh my God, I don't have to be doing anything. I only need to be honoring what you came here to be, and out of that, my daily reality of what I do unfolds. But I'm not driven anymore. And I want to pass that on to all of you. Don't be driven by your life. Be guided by that purity of intention within you to be, just as Allie, to be the artist that's in her to be. Be the artist and your ministry unfolds.
Thank you, Reverend Charles.
I remember an agent conference where people were scrambling to not talk after Michael Beckwith. And I have that kind of the same feeling right this minute.
Oh, please. No. Please. No.
Because I feel like, I'm going to be 79 tomorrow. And I'm just following Charles here, a little bit behind. So I was about to start talking to my congregation about might be time for me to retire, and I've had some health challenges I hadn't shared with them, and I was going to begin to say, well, I have this and that, and I need to spend some more time with my family. And we had a board of annual meeting that was coming up, and that was going to be shared on March 15th of 2020. And somewhere before that Sunday happened, COVID hit, I had 2 doctors in my congregation call and really explain and how vital it was to not meet. And we went on Zoom. And from that announcement never happened. because everything changed and I was so guided to stay. People need inspiration. They need community. They need something that continues. They need this. I am supposed to do this. It was easier for me because I just padded right down the hall to my office, and I wore my slippers or my socks every Sunday, and but continued to do that until last November, so about a year ago, when I fell flat on my face on a concrete walkway outside my house, and a whole bunch of miracles unfolded that made me realize, it's a sign. Let's just go ahead and follow the sign before we get some bigger sign. And and it's time now. I have never, unlike Charles, I'm actually the cabin by some kind of water. Sounds very appealing to me. Moving to Texas hadn't occurred as an idea. A lot of things that somebody who said they want to live it as love will need to let go of judgments on, and all kinds of areas. And but I found myself, actually what happened is that when I fell, they did a MRI or something, found some shadows and thought, oh, maybe you've had some strokes. And I realized that my husband really needed help and taking care of, and I better get myself down to my family if something was going to happen. Well, anyway, the shadow thing, they went away and they couldn't find out anyway, so it was all right. But the decision, life had moved me. So I resisted some. That maybe is why it, took almost a year. I'm not sure. But again, I don't know what it is. I'm still saying I'm retired, and then Charles said, don't say that. It's like, well, I'm kind of enjoying the freedom. My good clothes were in Texas. I don't know what to wear here, and it didn't really matter. And so, but I do know, whether it's called ministry or not, that it is my joy to be of service to life. And something will unfold in this, because I feel so strongly I would never have done this. What in the world am I moving to Texas for? But you can stay tuned, and you can know that it's something that is of benefit to all of us, because I am very committed to offering whatever I can to the field that is our collective energy. And it will be something about love.
Thank you, Reverend Carol.
Guys, I'm originally from New Orleans, so the South is okay, except for the hurricanes, right? So, but I was thinking, many are called, few are chosen. I think everybody in this room here has been chosen, and we all probably deep inside here we know that we have some type of duty to help and heal other people. It's part of my calling, and I'm sure it's part of your calling too. I mean, to think that we all have the power to heal, if you let that sink in. I mean, there's many people out there that have never seen a miracle. And I've seen them day in and day out as a byproduct of New Thought and 12-step programs and things like that. And throughout COVID over the last 2 years, I mean, there's people losing their businesses, families getting broken apart, people turning to drugs and alcohol, and we all have an opportunity to help countless untold people and bring them back to life and let them live. I don't know if any of you guys here have been through a kind of a rebirth. Most people have been through a transformative process of being reborn, probably in this room. I have. And I feel like now that I'm back here, I I have a duty to help others. And that's kind of where, that's my ministry. But just like it says in the wisdom literature, if I can't drag a donkey to the water and make it drink, And if I go to help somebody and they don't want my help, I kick the dust off my sandals and I move on to the next person because I got work to do. That's just kind of where I am in life. I've got children, I've got a wife, I've got bills to pay just like everybody else. But there's this other stuff. I got to keep giving it away so I can keep it. And that's the bottom line.
Thank you so much, George. All right, so what book has been the most influential in your lives? Yeah, whoever wants to start.
I read, I read John Randolph Price years ago in 1996. That was the first thing that hit me. That guy's beautiful. If you can get a hold of his abundance book or the success book or the love book. But the Wallace D. Wattles was a guy from the turn of the century, 1910, that wrote some books about the science of creative thinking. Now they call it the science of getting rich. But in that book, it really talks. There's a chapter 7 in that book on gratitude that is mind-blowing if any of you guys ever get a chance to look at it. But Wattles is extremely famous, and I was analyzing his book in 2005, and I wrote a little book about it, okay? And I published it, and it started selling. And then I gave a copy of it to a friend of mine in New York City at the Yale Club. He looks at my little book, How to Master Abundance, and he says, "This looks like The Secret." I'm like, "What's the secret?" And so that's how the collective consciousness works. The noosphere that Teilhard de Chardin talked about around the world. I wrote a book exactly like this lady in Australia, except she made a movie and became super famous. But people were buying my little book just because it had information about Wattles and Charles Hennell and these other guys in there. And it's just a beautiful book. I recommend it. Wallace D. Wattles for anybody who's interested. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Shall we go this way and then? Books that came to mind that have been important to me, the Abraham Hicks series, which I taught a lot of classes from and really loved. Ask and It's Given is my favorite there. I love the Michael Singer books, Untethered Soul and his Surrender Experiment. I'm currently reading a book by Helen Hamilton called Dissolving the Ego. And one of my dear favorites I read to you this morning, Shalane Harkin. That poetry speaks to my soul. And the Shalane Harkin. I brought both books in there on that back table if you want to take a look at them.
Thank you, Reverend Carol.
Well, I will very quickly date myself with the fact that in my teens, I read Thomas Suger's bio of Edgar Cayce, and that moved me so profoundly because I am grateful that I was born with remembrance of existing before I came here, and that when I picked that book up, it was, oh my God, this is real, and in my teens and a good part of my life, church never made sense because I couldn't understand why I would go in and come out feeling worse. That it was just very conflicting, and then when I came upon the science of mind, and I was so hesitant to come into it. But I had to have 2 jobs at the time, and one was a bartender. And the bartender that trained me was talking about this, and he asked me to church. I said, "There's no way, not going to happen." And he said, "Well, what about if I pick you up and take you to an evening class?" And I said, "All right." I mean, he was going to pick me up. I was like, okay. And I go, and my teacher was Dr. Laura Holman, who was the first woman president of the International Association of Religious Science Churches, and a beautiful woman. And when I walked into her class, I knew I was in holy presence, and that she opened her prayer with, "Beloved presence." Oh, wow, beloved presence. And everything that came through was so amazing. So the Science of Mind text by Ernest Holmes, and taking that in and knowing that a good part of that book is channeled, particularly on the mystic and on the Christ. It's pure evidentiary flowing through of consciousness. And so that was my foundation of how I literally have lived. And in the meantime, there's so many new expansive ways to teach the science of mind, to teach it and breathe it and live it. And I've always sought to do that. I would never want to stay like, this is how you did it. No, I don't do it that way anymore. No way. But that's what Ernest Holmes wanted. He wanted us to be ongoing, exploring. And there's so many new authors and teachers today, and how they write and what they say, what they bring into awareness. Mary Morrissey's books are profound and fantastic of her authenticity. There's so many. But the bottom line is, when you feel truth coming through you from whatever you're reading, the key thing, it's not the singular path or way, it's that you breathe it into the universal reality of love, period.
Thank you, Reverend Charles.
I love to read, and if I'm not reading a book, I'm knitting a blanket and listening to a book on Audible. I think a book that I have really enjoyed teaching from is I'll say the 5 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I found that has had a huge impact on the students that I've had the privilege to sit with. I remember once I was offering a workshop, and usually I would get 10, 20, maybe students. Well, I posted it on Facebook, this one 3-hour workshop. I got 95 people showed up in Ogden, Utah for this course on the 4 Agreements. And so it's one of those sort of timeless books. It's been around for 25 or so years, but it seems like it's simple, it's easy, it's universal. I also really am enjoying a book called The Gene Keys by Richard Rudd. It's more along the lines of channeled work. Well, on all books, really. And another one, which some of my friends in this room know, the Sophia Code. These are newer books that are a bit out of the normal book reading list for a religious science or science of mind group. Yeah, and lots of other books about trauma. I'm just putting together a practitioner, conscious living practitioner, conscious living coach course, and I'm going with Brene Brown, the Atlas of the Heart that comes out on November 30th, and a trauma book by Dr. Paul Conti, and another one called Calmfidence, C-A-L-M, Confidence. So those are 3 that I'm working on, along with Science of Mind by Dr. Ernest Holmes.
Thank you all, panel. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have time for this one more question, and this person tried to get 3 questions in one, but I'm going to skip the first one because it says if you're just now entering ministry, and that's none of you. So, so I'm going to go with, what's been 3 things that you highly recommend? And just the second part of that is, what 3 would you give a hard pass to? Okay, so what 3 things would you highly recommend, and 3 things that you give a no way sign for a hard pass? Don't do these things. Yes.
I'll go. Just because I forget the question really quickly.
I can repeat the question, by the way, if it goes on down.
So the hard pass is saying yes when you mean no.
Yeah.
Or no when you mean yes. And the absolutely, and this is for me, but it may be for you, is walking. I love to walk. It's when I'm closest to God. There's something magical about the whole physiology of walking that inspires me and heals me. It's healed my back, along with spiritual mind treatment, of course. And so the no is the saying yes or no when you don't mean it, and the yes is walking meditation, being outdoors, soaking in nature, being in your own aura.
Thank you so much. I'm going to shorten the question up just so we can get out on time. Just ask you to tell us one thing that you would do and one thing you say no to. Charles, would you?
The one thing that you would do, and that I do, and that I must do, and without question do, is before I close my eyes every night, be in gratitude. When I wake up, be in gratitude, and be in the constancy of gratitude as deeply and profoundly as I can. And the one thing to say no to is I'm going to support Allie. MYOB. Actually, say no to what clearly is not yours to do. Really practice that and own that.
Thank you. Carol?
I would say time in the silence as well as the gratitude. And don't pretend. Be authentic.
Thank you, Reverend Carol. George, you have the final word?
Fred, spiritual fellowship, REM sleep, exercise, and diet.
That was 4 things, but good. You got that right in. I like it. All right. Thank you, Sage, Wisdom, Anton panel. Thank you guys so much. Give them a big hand, please. Woo-hoo! Thank you so much. Yes, thank you. All right, so we're going to take a little break here, and we're going to be back at 3 o'clock in this very room. We have the annual membership meeting. You don't want to miss it. We have lots of things to talk about, decisions to make, so please be back in this room at 3 p.m. Thank you.